very, very good morning to you, and it's a pleasure, and we're so delighted to have you again on the Leadership Wednesday show. This being Wednesday, the 24th of January 2024. We are trusting that you're also having a bright day, and thank you so much for making time to be with us. Of course, you know, when it is Leadership Wednesday, we discuss matters leadership revolving around diverse areas: education, health, agriculture, the world of business, investment, as well as even matters politics, so that we have this particular one agenda to ensure that we better our leadership. Of course, there is that particular saying that everything stands or falls on leadership, and therefore when we have good leadership starting from the very bottom, even in our families, going maybe to our villages, going maybe at the ward level, at the constituency level, and even maybe at the county level, and of course at the national level, then we can be sure that so many of these other things, other issues in the society will also be on track. And therefore that is why we bring to you this particular program every Wednesday to discuss and to ensure that in as much as possible we are determined to get solutions to some of our challenges, some of our problems, and ensuring that the people that we also put on different positions, they are actually accountable and responsible for the tasks and the assignments that they have been given. So today we have a very, very great topic, and this is something that has actually even been trending even from the national perspectives. We're going to look at the government's digital and foreign job programs. The government's digital and foreign job programs. This is a particular matter that the government has been very, very active about. The president also being heard so many times talking about digital jobs, finding jobs abroad, and so on and so forth. And we know when you talk about unemployment, it's a major issue in our country. And therefore today, I will also have experts later on in the program who will be able to help us be in a position to know what exactly we mean when we talk about this particular matter. So you can look forward for a very captivating discussion. And of course, I'm being joined by my colleague, that is Paul Kagi. Good morning and good to see you again, siku ya leo.
Right, good morning. I'm very fine, Mangicho, this morning. Yes, on Wednesday, as usual, we have a time to be able to enlighten Kenyans on leadership matters. And of course, I believe, dear viewer, you are there, you're waiting for our presentation today. And every Wednesday, you have a chance to be able to understand more about what is happening in the leadership platform. And you may not miss something to be able to help you to understand about leadership and what is happening in our country, especially in political and social spheres. Yes. Today we are here, as usual, to be able to give you more on Leadership Wednesday. Once again, my name is Paul Kagi. Don't go too far.
Absolutely, and of course, we always want to make it as interactive as possible, so we want you to chip in to also contribute on today's discussion, today's conversation. We have very, very clear and very effective and efficient feedback systems and platforms that you can actually use. So we have a question that we are putting out to you, which we would want you to give us your comments and your views about. We are asking, do you agree there are sufficient digital and foreign jobs for the unemployed youth in the country? Do you agree, you as a Kenyan, as a citizen, do you agree that there are sufficient digital and foreign jobs, okay, digital and foreign jobs for the unemployed youth in the country? What is your take on that? If you think yes, there are sufficient digital jobs and also foreign jobs for our unemployed youth, you can tell us why you think so. If you think no, maybe they are not that sufficient, they are not that many, maybe as many other people would want to say or want to imagine or want maybe to tell us, you can also maybe tell us why you are taking that particular perspective. Now, this one, of course, you can begin as early as now. You know the drill, 23814. For those interested in the shortcut platform, 23814. You can also catch us. We are live on our social media pages. For Facebook, that is MBCI TV. And of course, for YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. we'll be glad to also see what will be your take as far as this is concerned. Of course, later on, we'll also have our reporter Vincent Kimtai. We always send him to the field to also get the perspectives of Kenyans. We'll get to hear what Kenyans on the streets are also talking about as far as this particular subject is concerned. Our guest later on will be Madam Brenda Gatonyo from WorldStat Africa and Zoe Naik, also from WorldStat Africa. They will help us in an interview that we did earlier, be in a position to understand the aspect or maybe the dynamics of this particular topic and this particular subject. So you can stay tuned and be ready and look forward for a very captivating discussion to be enlightened on this particular matter. But of course, as we always do in this particular show, we also bring to perspective so many other issues, so many other trending subjects that have actually hit the headlines across this particular 1 week. And Kagi, we can look at them.
Yeah, I think as usual, we are going to look at some of the issues that are making headline today. And of course, one of the issues that is drawing my attention this morning, you are aware that we are having a problem with some parents who are invading some schools, public schools.
Yes.
And this matter really, it's like they touch the nerve of the Ministry of Education. You see how the TSC reacted on this matter.
Sure.
And the parents and the pupils and students later on became to regret of the action.
Yes.
Even members of parliament, the politicians, were regretting on what they did. It was not the first time this year for parents to invade schools because of the poor performance. I could remember very well, even last year, there was a similar incident whereby parents invaded an institution and evicted a principal for allegedly allowing the school to be able to have a poor performance.
Yes.
And according to the minds of parents,
Yes.
it is the work of the headmaster for the primary school and the principal to ensure the school performs very well.
Okay.
Period. They have a stake in that. They have a stake in that.
Yes.
But I believe also it is not only the principal or teachers or trainers who have a role responsibility to ensure that their children perform well in school. Even society, even parents, and even the students themselves have a share in their performance. And you could remember very well, they chased the principals in 2 schools in Western region, and the ministry reacted fast and transferred all the teachers in those institutions. And the pupils were left without someone to attend them. And yesterday, there was a closed-door meeting between the security personnel in those areas and the Ministry of Education through the PS for Education, Belio Kipsang, who are looking for a ways to be able to handle this matter well, because in Swahili we say, fahali wawili wakipigana,
Nyazi ndizo zinaumia.
Nyazi ndizo zinaumia. At this time around, the pupils become the grass.
Sure.
Parents are going on with their activities, teachers are getting their salaries, but the pupils are suffering because no one to attend them. Especially for those who are in Form 4 who are preparing for the KCSE. So yesterday, the TSC gave some stern warning to parents who want to orchestrate a tradition of punishing principals for the poor performance of their children. And that's why they are collaborating with the internal security docket to ensure that there is nobody is going to school to cause mayhem or maybe to threaten security of teachers, principals, or even children.
You're right.
And they have agreed that the TSC is going to deploy 17 teachers to the school that they were transferred in Kakamega school after meeting with the county political leaders. And so politicians were very keen in this matter. And they have agreed that they are going to work with the National Intelligence Service to deal with insecurity in public schools. I think that is very, very important. But the government has warned that the Education also Ministry is not ready to protect teachers or principals who are reluctant in their job. You know, this one does not open an avenue that now the teachers are not going to perform because the ministry is coming in for them. No, 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 no. Everybody must take responsibility of their duty.
Exactly. I think, Kage, you've actually very well put out that particular story, and I think it is something that really caught the attention of so many Kenyans, and we even had the footage. We had actually the clips of the principal of that particular school actually being chased away by very rowdy parents and the students, and also some other, I think, quite a number of border riders. And actually, what came to my attention was that was quite unfortunate, and it was actually it was actually dangerous, because you can just imagine if they were just going maybe to be psyched up. You never know. Maybe they would have actually hurt that particular individual, that particular teacher. So for me, the action that the TSC took, the Ministry of Education took at first to ensure that they ask all the teachers of that particular school not to go to that particular school. I think that was a necessary step, because you never know if they could do that. Who knows what would have happened if the other day they come and maybe a few of them become more rowdy and they begin now to embark on the teachers. So I think it is incumbent upon parents, and maybe there is something we normally call civic education. Maybe it needs actually to be done, because as you said, when it comes to the results of a pupil or the results of a student, it cannot just be the responsibility of one person. These people or this particular student has their part, the parent has their part, and also the teachers also have their part. So it cannot just be blamed on one particular person. What if these kids were not learning? What if the parents were also not maybe doing their homework very well to ensure? So I think it is important, but I think through that particular action, I want to believe that the parents have even regretted the actions, and you're not going to see something like this happen again. And
this reminds me, when I'm talking about everybody has a role to play for the performance of a student, it reminds me when I was in Form 4. You know, I grew in the village, and we really used to work, even in school. When you close the school, you know that is a period of working hard to support the parents in the farm. And because when we got to Form 4, it was a culture of the village. And those guys who were in Form 4, they were excused from going to the farms. And I could remember I was allowed, when others going to the farm, I was allowed to remain behind at home to do my studies when we have closed school. So that one is a clear indication that the parents have a role. Otherwise, they had power to tell me that you cannot be left at home. You have to join the rest members of the family to go and do the farming, and then you can do your studies at your own time.
And that is very interesting, because don't be shocked, don't actually be amazed when maybe you find some of our parents, maybe even in the modern day Kenya, whereby maybe we have people who are supposed to go to school, but maybe a parent would ask them, no, today we don't have somebody to look after the cattle, so you have to remain. So when we see that big number of pupils are scoring that bad, or actually attaining those very, very disappointing grades, there is need actually to look very, very deep. How encouraging, how inspiring are even these parents when it comes to matters of education. But just leaving it to the principal alone or to the teachers,
it's not
doesn't
fair.
Really work.
It's not fair. But also, I think by this action of the minister, as you have just said, is very, very key to bring in order into our institutions. And if you could remember last year, there were some reports which were in the press that the position of principals and head teachers is being ignored by those in the ministry. Those who are, the government was looking for guys to be principals and headmasters, but no one was ready to apply for that job.
No one was volunteering for the job.
Nobody. It's a good job. It's a promotion. It has many allowances. But because of such kind of actions, so nobody was ready to go and take up that job because of the challenges they were facing.
Sure.
Right. There was another important story that yesterday the president was in Gilgil, and there was one story that is appearing in our press for the last 1 week, the infighting in Mount Kenya region regarding to the kinship
Yes.
And this matter has really elicited a lot of reactions from many quarters in the political arena, whereby the deputy president, who is being eyed by some MPs in the region, who want to unseat him as the highest or maybe kingpin of the Mount Kenya region. And the president yesterday waded into this battle and warned the young politicians in the region to stop it, because it is not time for succession. And they are really talking about succession in the region, in Mount Kenya region. And I was asking myself, I was trying to analyze which region in this country is experiencing a little bit of political hate in terms of succession, and I could identify Mount Kenya region. If you go to coastal region, there are no major politics that are going on there. If you go to Western region, there are no major politics. If you go to Northeastern, if you go to Nairobi, if you go to the southern part of Kenya, Nyanza, there are no much politics. But I don't know why Mount Kenya is experiencing this cancer of politics. We are only, I think, hardly 1.25 years after election.
Yeah, and the campaign mood is like it's at the tectonic levels.
Mangicho, this is a very dangerous trend that we are introducing. Because the problem with Kenya, if you start something like politics at this juncture,
yes, to stop it is actually
to stop difficult. It will be a tall order.
Yeah. And of course, again, when you look at it, Kagi, and you see the interesting bit with the politicians is also because of one day they will say this, tomorrow they will say something that is very different.
Very correct.
One day you'll hear politicians saying that no, this is not the time for us to do this. This is not the time for us maybe to engage in these kingship matters or these particular kingship campaigns and kingship issues. Only for you later on to realize that the same person who was saying that is actually the one who is engineering those talks. So it behoves all the leaders, especially those who are at the forefront, to give us a break, to give the country a break. We are barely 2 years after the 2022 general election, and there is so much that Kenyans are actually looking forward to actually help in terms of actually bringing development initiatives that this particular government had actually promised, and therefore all Kenyans are very, very expectant of this particular government. So when we begin now to see some of these issues about who is going to be the kingship of Mount Kenya at this particular stage, one wonders who has the interest of Mount Kenya, and why, and what interest do they have? So I think there is more than meets the eye. But let's work with the words of the president. If the leaders of Mount Kenya can actually maybe hearken to the words of the president and maybe just stop and halt those particular campaigns, then I think it would be good for the country.
There are two statements that he said yesterday which are very, very key.
And by the way, it was in Gilgil. He said it when he was in Gilgil. Yeah.
And one of them is, he said, I want to ask leaders to put aside disputes over positions so that we can focus on delivering services to Kenyans. That is one of the major statements. The other one was that we are keen to continue mentoring and elevating young lawmakers from across the region. Okay? And I think they are experiencing two problems.
Yes.
One is the issue of the kinship. The other one is who is to deputize Ruto 2027. And there, some of them are saying Gachagua is not going to be the running in 2027. And they are opting for other leaders from the eastern Mount Kenya and western Mount Kenya. So they are having two problems at the same time. And as I'm asking myself, as the president is telling them, I think these guys, the way they're using those forums to speak about succession and kingship, I wish they could use those forums to push for the development agenda in that region.
Sure, you're very right. And of course, again, Kagi, bearing in mind that most of our people, most of Kenyans, most of our citizens were not really impressed with the kind of relationship that we saw in the previous government, especially between the president and the then deputy president, who is now the president. I think people were really looking forward that this time round, we'd have a very good working relationship between the president and the deputy president. And you know, there are those who believe that now when we have some of these issues beginning now to crop up, when you have quite a number of leaders or quite a number of politicians beginning maybe to interfere and bringing such aspects, there is a way in which maybe it can even actually taint the relationship between the president and the deputy president. And I think that can be very unfortunate. So if there are those leaders who have ambitions, and of course it's good to have ambitions, it's good for them to actually dream big, but let's be reasonable enough. Let's see what is it that the country needs at the moment, what is it that the citizens will actually need at the moment. Let's give them development. When that time comes, of course, everyone will be given a platform to sell their agenda, to sell their manifesto. And of course, Mwananchi is there waiting and will be able maybe to pick the one that they think is the most qualified.
Correct. And there was another story that is coming up. Yesterday, the deputy president, who is leading a very robust campaign on fighting against the illicit brew in the country, said that he is ready to be persecuted for maybe pushing for the campaign to eradicate illicit brew in the country. And there was a day that media reported that Kenya is a drinking nation, and we're having a problem with alcohol in our land, whereby people are drinking in the morning, they are drinking in the afternoon and in the evening, and they are not working. Even there are some regions where people no longer go to work, especially in the villages, because of drinking. And the deputy president is very, very keen on ensuring that these unauthorized liquors are eradicated in our system. Because number one, these liquors are the ones which are destroying our young people. I remember even in, I think, Murang'a County, some years back, there was a governor who said that they are ready to pay for any woman who get a child, because we're not getting children. Yeah? Taking children to school, the number was declining day by day. I don't have the current data, but the number was declining day by day because of the irresponsibilities of men in that region. All right? They are not getting married. Those who are getting married, they are being left by their wives because they are not active in their families. And you see, it is affecting the whole system of the county and even in the country. And true to his word, he is working very hard to ensure that this illicit brew is being eradicated. But I don't know where he is losing it. I have not understood where he is losing this battle. I think he should change his tactic on fighting these brews.
Yeah, fighting that particular scourge. I totally agree with you, Kagi, because I think this is something that has affected us, this alcoholism, for a very long time. Yeah. And I think even the spouse of the deputy president, Her Excellency, the second lady, I think she's also very, very upbeat and in the front line to actually fight this particular disaster. But yeah, it can be quite unfortunate that with all these efforts, maybe we are not seeing a lot of fruits. Yeah. So maybe we need a change of tactic, maybe a change of the measures that maybe we are putting into place, the call for maybe multi-sectoral kind of approach, and maybe bringing so many other of these particular stakeholders on board. Again, maybe this is also an industry whereby we have very, very deep interest, and maybe we have very, very maybe people who are influential, or persons who are influential, maybe who in one way or another might actually be proving to be a major, major challenge in terms of actually helping this particular war to be a success. So I think that is also something that really needs to be put into consideration. And Gagi, maybe before you look at the other item, there is something that is also happening in Nakuru on the War Memorial Hospital.
Yes.
And it's been quite dramatic for some time now. And I think we've actually seen it's actually a push and pull between the county government and also the management of that particular hospital. But again, like you're just saying, the story of the subjects about pitting the TSC and maybe the parents, the students being affected. Yeah. In this particular case, the patients
are being affected.
Yes.
It is too unfortunate that this war is happening when the patients are still being attended to. I saw a clip yesterday evening, which was posted by some nurses, whereby a council askari came into the hospital without authorization and went to the ward and disconnected machines from a patient. And the nurses were all over crying that this guy has really disconnected machines from a patient. And you could not understand where the human is at this juncture. Yes, there is a huge war, what I would call the legal war of the ownership between the War Memorial Hospital. And even though it is happening, I think the first priority should be the patient.
Sure.
There are some patients who are there. If they see this war, they are going to be stressed. And you see, when you are sick and then you are stressed,
it can actually be very dire.
The expression can be very dire. I feel it is good for those who are involved, because we have two factions. We have county government, we have the owner of the hospital, we have also the court in, which are giving some court orders. So there is a very big war, and the presence of military or police in that area is escalating the whole thing.
Yes.
You know, first were council askaris who are all over, and now there are police with tear gases in the hospital. I'm feeling for those patients.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I think there needs to be a very swift action that actually needs to be taken. I think the parties that are involved, they can, like you said, they can resolve the issue,
yes,
but not necessarily at the expense of the patients. Because now the patients, maybe most of those patients are not even aware. They don't even know about
what is happening.
What's happening. They're not even concerned. These are people, they're victims, and they've just gone there in very delicate health situation or condition, and they're going there to actually get some of these medical services. So actually bringing and making them now to suffer because of the warring battles, I think is quite unfortunate, and that is something that actually also needs to be taken into consideration.
What we call the Kenya National Human Rights Commission should come in now, because the work of the Human Rights Commission is to fight for the rights of everybody. Where two factions are fighting and they are affecting human life is where the Kenya National Human Rights Commission should come in. This reminds me of the war between Israel and Hamas.
Yes.
There was a time they felt that one of the hospitals is being used by Hamas. That's where the hiding place, their offices were. And Israel warned that anybody who has a patient in that place, vacate your people from the hospital, because we are going to invade that hospital.
Exactly.
And they were given time to do that. And you could see people taking their loved ones to other hospitals, who are being assisted with ambulances, with all sort of whatever.
Sure.
Even this scenario, if this war is too heavy, Mangicho, there could be collaboration between the hospital, those who are claiming to be the owners, on how they are going to vacate those patients to other neighboring hospitals. I think that will be fair and even human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that is something that actually needs to be looked into. My director is telling me, Kagi, we need to take a short break at this particular point. But of course, when we are coming back, we'll get some of the vox pops, some of the comments, views and opinions from Kenyans. What do they think about this particular matter, the digital and foreign jobs programs? And I think this is something that this particular government has been very upbeat about, and we've seen them trying as much as possible to encourage as many Kenyans as possible, especially the youth, other than just staying and waiting maybe to be employed by different organizations or companies. They need to see how is it that they can make money online, how is it that they can also get opportunities to travel abroad and get some of these opportunities. So later on, of course, we'll also have interviews with some experts on this particular subject. That is Brenda Gatonye and also Zoe Nike from Wildstars Africa, to help us be in a position to get into the heart and soul of this particular discussion. Let's have that break, and we're coming back with much more.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Niko na tongue twister inaenda hivi. Cheap jeep is cheap. Cheap jeep is cheap. Nataka useme mara 3 mbio mbio bila kustop. Twende.
Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap.
What is that?
Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap. Jeep 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 is cheap.
Nataka unispelie neno Christmas.
Christmas. E-X-T-A-S. E-X-T-A-S.
Hey, na hivi tu bwana umetoa wapi?
Wakati Yesu aliletewa zawadi, kuna hii zawadi ilikuwa inaitwa manemane. Manemane ilikuwa nini?
Manemane. Manemane. Haikuwa samaki.
Alamsiki ni kutoka saa 9 mpaka saa 11. Na binuru?
Binuru ni jioni wakati unaelekea kulala.
Saa ngapi hivi?
Saa 3 usiku hivi na kuendelea.
Kirio, macho sina utu. Papa. Nicheka.
Cause all my life you have been faithful.
You are invited for the New Beginnings prayer meeting at the Faith Harvest International Churches at Roy Sambo on TRM Drive inside the Word Mega Tent behind Jewel Complex. Hosted by Overseer Reverend Virginia Nganga, Senior Pastor Steve Njuguna, Pastor Paul Githa, Pastor Benjamin Kuria, and Pastor Danson Gugi. The guest speaker will be Apostle Julius Subi of Exploits Worship Center.
It's time to enter where you have never entered. Am I talking to somebody?
Our theme verse is from Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Come, we pray for our destinies, families, and our nation, Kenya. This meeting is interdenominational, free, and open to all. It will be live on all social media pages at Faith Harvest International Churches. Karibu.
Life is brimming with moments worth celebrating. The dreams we chase, the connections we cherish, the laughter that fills our hearts. These are the true treasures. But sometimes, the path to those moments can feel clouded by financial worries. What if you could invest in a future where chasing your dreams isn't just a desire, but a reality? With Enwealth Capital, small steps lead to big possibilities. With Enwealth Money Market Fund, you can secure your financial future for a better tomorrow. Meticulously crafted for growth, carefully managed for safety of your investments and growth, you can invest as little as 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Whether you yearn for the freedom to travel, the joy of owning a home, or the security of a comfortable retirement, we enable your dreams to reality. Sign up today through www.enwealth.co.ke/capital or call 0700-617-443 and secure a lifetime of financial well-being and dignity through Enwealth. Enwealth Capital Unit Trust Scheme is approved by CMA, which does not take responsibility for the financial soundness of the scheme. Prices of shares and income may fluctuate and the right to redeem shares may be suspended. Enwealth Capital Limited is a subsidiary entity of Enwealth Financial Services Limited with regulatory approvals to provide pensions, investments, and insurance services.
Welcome to Africa International University, where education meets transformation. At AIU, we don't just educate, we inspire and innovate, shaping Christ-centered leaders who will transform Africa and the world. Our academic programs cater to every ambition: certificates, diplomas, bachelor's, postgraduate, master's, and PhDs. Join our international community and embark on an exciting academic journey that goes beyond borders. We lead, we innovate, we inspire, because at AIU, we are more than a university. We are a family with a common goal of transforming the world. The time is now. Enroll in AIU and be a part of a university in the heart of Africa, with Africa on its heart. Africa International University, where dreams take flight and leaders are born.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Of course, you're welcome back to the Leadership Wednesday show right here on MBCI TV. Of course, you're watching us. We are looking at this particular subject, the government's digital and foreign job programs. And we have lined up for you a very, very captivating discussion later on. But for now, we want to get our reporter Vincent Kimtai, who interviewed a number of Kenyans on this particular subject. And of course, these are some of their sentiments on the same. Let's have it.
Asante sana Magicho Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi. Na katika mjadala mnaojadili hapo studioni, nitakuwa nikiendeleza mahala hapa ambapo nitakuwa nikizungumza na vijana kuhusiana na swala la ajira kwenye mitandao, jinsi ambavyo Rais William Ruto mara si moja amekuwa akisisitiza kwamba vijana nchini wanastahili kumbatia kazi ya mitandao, akisema kwa serikali yake imeweka mikakati kuhakikisha kwamba vijana hao wanapata ajira kwa njia urahisi kupitia njia ya mtandao ili kusaidia kukabili uhaba wa ajira humu nchini. Hapa hivi nitakuwa nikizungumza na vijana kuweza kutueleza je, kama kuna changamoto katika kupata ajira hizo kwenye mitandao na ni wito gani wanatoa kwa serikali. Labda tutaanza kwa majina, alafu tuelezee kuhusiana na serikali imekuwa ikitaka muweze kuingia katika mitandao kupata ile ajira yenye inapatikana kwenye mitandao. Sijui unafikiri kuna changamoto ambazo mnakabiliana nazo katika kutafuta ajira kwenye mitandao?
Machogu Kale Magati. Nataka niseme ya kwamba kuna changamoto baina iwapo au vijana watapata kazi. Changamoto ni mingi sana. For example, the president has just promised that will give us jobs, online jobs. Number one, we must focus on the internet of the data. Au jamaa wanafanya kazi ya online. Hii data watatoa wapi? Mosoni comrades. Mimi kila siku huwa nasimama na comrades wa this country. Ndiposa the last time tulisema mambo na help na tukasaidia help, sasa hivi comrades wamesaidika. Na tukikuja katika hili swala la online writing, for example, tuko na remote task, tuko na online writing, such jobs. Job kama hizo zinataka laptop, zinataka smartphone. Kuna comrades wanakuanga na kadude and wanataka hawezi fikia that, wana come from papalism backgrounds. Comrade anataka data. This data ndiyo tufikie afanye that job. Na that job iko na changamoto. For example, the payment inaweza take long. For example, I'm doing academic writing, nimeifanya, inachukua that long ndio jamaa one this my work is clear, my work is correct, lazima ipitishwe na ita take long. Hiyo ni changamoto nyingine. So looking about the data ambayo comrade anatumika his bundles na laptop, most is the laptop ambayo inatumika. Kwa maana kuna changamoto. Labda the government iko na that schedule ya kupena some laptops to individuals, like mkopa laptops. For example, it is to be realistic, the government yezipeana laptop kwa kila comrade. So ikuje na ile issue ya kukopa, jamaa unakopa, unaona jamaa anakopa simu analipia polepole. Ikuje na that instance ya kulipa laptop polepole, so that this comrade aweze kusaidika, aweze kufanya kazi zake za online, mapato yake anapata kidogo, analipia that laptop na yake ina price inasaja maana.
Labda sijui nikuuliza swali nyingine ni kwamba sijui kama unafahamu kuwa serikali imeweza kutenga ICT hubs katika kila wadi humu nchini ya kuwasaidia vijana kwenda kupata access na kutafuta ile ajira ya mitandao.
Nafahamika, but unajua saa zingine this government, some advisors wa government sijui wanafikiria saa zingine changamoto au ni changamoto. Wameset the hubs. These guys ambao wana manage these hubs wanataka pesa, and the corruption itakuwa high level. Wangeleta these hubs into every institution, kama for example walete Mount Kenya University, walete ICS College, walete Arvist, walete Arvips, ingekuwa fiti sana.
The online business, it's accessible, especially if someone is determined to get a job. And the challenges that I can per se say is people that do not have access to examples to, laptops and smartphones, because not every youth has that. And the challenge that can cause that is people getting into robbery so that they can be able to access such gadgets. Yes. And accessing the ICT or any county government office, I don't think that's a problem. It only needs determination. That's according to me.
I don't know if you are aware that the government has set the ICT hubs in every county or in every ward level. I don't know if you are aware about that.
No, I'm not aware of that. Naomba serikali the job opportunities zikuwe more so that people can, hata hiyo mkopo yenye wanaongelelea, people to be able to access it. Yes.
Changamoto ziko. Kama let's take an example of an online job kama ya Remote Task. Remote Task ni kampuni based in Silicon Valley, America. They give you online jobs. But challenge inatokea kwa Mkenya kama ule wa kawaida, the normal student ni ipi? These accounts ziko limited to those in America, maybe in Europe, Australia and such. So the government inaweza saidia hapa kwa upande, inaweza saidia hapa kivipi? If they can convince the owners of these countries, Fiverr, Remote Tasks, there are many. If they can convince the owners to set up branches in locally, branches that can allow local Kenyans to open their accounts, inaweza saidia hiyo. In all honesty, I don't think those ICT hubs are very accessible. Most of us who are doing online gigs, we do these jobs using our own means. We don't use government means. Isonye tunajitafutia what we call bundles. Isonye tunajitafutia data. Isonye tunajitafutia even these gigs. Via the ICT hubs, kama mimi nikiuliza ya kwetu ni wapi hata sijui.
Serikali kuweka hizi hubs ni mimi kwangu mimi naipa kipaumbele, kwa manake imesaidia sana vijana kama sisi ku access the internet. Kwa mfano mimi kama ingekuwa last week nilikuwa nafanya kazi ya online na nilikuwa na changamoto ya ku access internet, lakini kuna mahali ambapo unapata kama katika hii town yetu hapa Nakuru, unapata kuna mahali zimewekwa ambapo tunaweza enda sisi kama vijana tukakaa pale na tukafanya kazi yetu. Na ile jambo naweza ambia serikali ni kwamba kama kuna uwezekano hizi hubs ziwekwe kila mahali, kwa mashule, hata kwa hizi private institutions, unaelewa? Kila mahali zikuwe ndio kila Mkenya, kijana Mkenya apate ku access internet.
Kwa hili swala la president na the job opportunities zile zimeproposiwa na the national government, naweza sema it is a good approach, inaweza saidia, lakini anafaa weke mikakati tofauti ku ensure that all youths wako na access. Kwa sababu ukiangalia hapa Nakuru, especially our informal settlements, access to computers is a challenge, access to smartphones, kila mtu ako na smartphone. So nafikiri anafaa zingatie mikakati zingine kabla haja roll out your program. Sababu ukiangalia graduates wale ambao wamemaliza university wako wengi ambao wana tamak, lakini pia ukiangalia the employment gap, pia kuna wale ambao wako unskilled, ambao hawana hizo technical skills za digital. So anafaa angalie both sides ili kukabi issue ya unemployment which iko kubwa especially kwa vijana.
Mangicho Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi hao ni kati ya maelfu ya vijana wanaowakilisha maelfu ya vijana humu nchini ambao wameweza kutetea mpango wa ajira, mpango wa hatua ya serikali kutaka vijana kumbatia kazi za kimitandao. Lakini hata hivyo wameweza kutoa mapendekezo wakitaka serikali kuimarisha mikakati ili vijana wakaweze kuendelea kunufaika na kazi hizo za kimitandao, wakisema kuwa itasaidia kusuluhisha uhaba wa ajira humu nchini, vile vile kusaidia kupunguza hali ambayo vijana wengi hujiingiza katika uhalifu kufuatia kukosa ajira humu nchini. Kutoka hapa hivi, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
Wow, bravo. Our reporter there, Vincent Kimutai, getting the views and the opinions, sentiments of Kenyans on what they feel about this particular program by the government on the digital and foreign jobs. And of course, Kagi, you've seen, that was quite a very, very good job there by Vincent Kimutai. And I think he has actually even met, because I could see some of those, or actually majority of those he has actually spoken to, are the ones who are actually potential for what we are talking about, the digital jobs. And I think they've actually come out very clearly that they know how important this particular initiative can actually be. But I think they've pointed out some very, very valid challenges.
I seem to understand exactly what they need to have to be able to achieve in the digital content jobs. And they have really pointed out areas they feel is a bit challenging to them to be able to access these jobs. And I could point out some few of the things I've heard them saying, which are very key. Number one is there is limited resources to help them to be able to access these jobs. They have talked about the iPhones or the smartphones. They have talked about accessibility of internet, and also those who are lacking internet, the accessibility of the computers. And there was one of the proposals by the government to young people, because this was one of their ways, or maybe also today is one of their ways to help youth to get a job, is by creating ICT hubs. I think this is very key. If the government could be able to prioritize creating some ICT hubs to our counties, it will help our young people to go there and do their stuff, because there are those who don't have a laptop, they don't have a desktop, they don't have a smartphone, but they have good content to sell on digital platform. And therefore, the ICT hub will be very, very important. Even if the government could start with the county level and then start devolving it to sub-counties, I could
actually even propose if it could actually start even at the ward level.
Even ward level.
Yeah, so that we don't necessarily have, we don't necessarily need to have a lot of these youth maybe coming to a town like Doret. But we could develop those even centers at the ward level, so that those who have not yet gained employment, they can actually, and it can actually be much, much affordable.
Yes.
Because when it comes maybe even to resources, one may be thinking of traveling maybe some kilometers, maybe to a particular town, spending the transport on the road, and also maybe again the issue of maybe the data and so on and so forth. I think that is something that needs to be addressed.
There was one lady who was talked about a very important area to be able to achieve this, the offering what she called the digital technical skills to young people. Because yes, you may have the infrastructure, but you don't have the capacity to be able to do what you're supposed to do. And therefore, even in the ward level, if the government could be able to offer some training to young people on digital skills, it is really going to, because the others who have smartphone, there are some youth who are okay, they can access internet through their parents or their home, but they lack the digital technical skills. So digital technical skills is very, very important. But most importantly, Mangicho, one of the areas the government needs to really invest to be able to sort out the issue of unemployment is the digital platforms. Yeah, is one of the key areas which is going to address this problem in a very huge manner.
Exactly. And I was also attracted by another comment from one of those Vincent Kimtai was able to interview Kagi. They talked about most of these accounts, yes, they are foreign, of course. I think the person that was interviewed was proposing if they could also have their branches in Kenya. And I think most of the youth, maybe they've also had a problem in getting those accounts so that they can actually submit their work, they can submit their digital content. So if there is a way in which the government can actually do that, I think it would really help. So I think, Kagi, maybe we can come with much more discussion, but of course we can escalate this by also having a look at an interview that we did earlier with an expert and a personality that is also very, very well conversant with this particular subject on digital and also the foreign jobs, and that is Madam Brenda Gatonye, who is working for Wordstat Africa. Let's have that particular interview and also listen to hear, or have to hear, her perspectives on the same. Thank you so much for your time to talk with us on this particular subject. And maybe just as we start, and this is a matter, Brenda, that has also been actually making headlines in the last couple of months, and we've even had even the president also being reported, or actually on record, as also moving to other countries and also lobbying for Kenyans maybe to get job opportunities in those countries. Now, even as you tell us about this travel agency, what did you say is a scenario of Kenyans in relation to getting opportunities abroad?
So obviously every Kenyan who is interested to travel abroad is going to look for greener pastures. Yes, it's not that there are no greener pastures in Kenya, but they are greener out there. So of course the pay is very good, and there are many opportunities on that side. And with that, you don't need to know any inside person to get a job. You don't know how our country is right now. You have to know a person who can help you get this job. But now these greener pastures out there, they're for everyone. Anyone who's interested, as long as you're qualified for that job, you can get that job. Exactly. So most people just want to go to look for the greener pastures, and the greener pastures are there.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about these greener pastures in these countries, so which specific countries, or are we looking at all countries abroad?
Okay, so for us, we help people travel in the Ziza Wazungu, the European countries. We don't deal with Arab countries, that is Qatar, Saudi, Lebanon. We don't deal with those countries because of the many reasons you've had: mistreatment, low salaries, delays in salaries. So as a company, we choose not to work with those countries. But anyone interested to travel to, say, Canada, UK, Australia, USA, we help with that. Yes, because we help with the visa facilitation. Because of course, for you to travel, you just don't wake up one day and say, Leo naenda Canada. No, there are processes to follow, there are steps you have to take, and we take you through the whole process, from the visa facilitations to helping you book your tickets, to making you comfortable in the country, and placement of the job. Yes.
And actually, I would even want you to maybe to get deeper into those details, and maybe what our viewer needs maybe to know when maybe dealing with maybe some of these steps that are very important or very critical. But when you're talking about these opportunities, in what areas, what are some of them most common areas that maybe one can get opportunities?
So when it comes to jobs, we classify them into two classes. They're the skilled jobs and the semi-skilled. The skilled jobs are these jobs that require education, that is your degree or your master's. And there are there's this other class of the jobs that's called the semi-skilled. Doesn't require any education. That's the cleaners, security, caregivers, hospitality. Hospitality is semi-skilled. You might have that certificate, but it hasn't gotten to a point of the degree or the master's level. Yeah, so those are the jobs that we help most Kenyans get, and we call them the semi-skilled. It's very easy to get placement for those jobs. But also this person who is a doctor out there, an engineer, and they want the placement abroad, it's also available for them. And the requirements that you need are very basic. your passport. That's of course the mother of all documents. You have to have a passport. Other things are your ID, your birth certificate, COVID certificate, your parents' IDs, your siblings, all that we call the family ties, very necessary. ID, dad, mom, brothers, sisters. If you're married, you have to bring your spouse ID. If you have kids, your children's birth certificate. Those are some of the common documents that you need to have. And the other complex documents that in case you don't have, that's where we come in. Yes, we help you. For instance, if your passport has delayed or you want to apply for a passport, you don't know where to start, we come in. Yeah, so we help with that process. And then now once you bring in the documents, we help you with the documentation process so that we can start applying to the embassy. There are countries that have interviews in the embassy, like the US. You'll need to present yourself. There are countries that don't need you to present yourself. Yeah, so we take you through the whole process. You'll just come talk to us. Most of the time, actually, for us, our consultation is free. You might just come to get the information, not necessarily start the process. We'll just come and advise you on the country with the reason for travel, because not everyone wants to go to work. There are people who want to go study. There are people who have relatives out there, they just want to go to visit. There's someone out there who has some letter from a doctor that they need to go to India for further medication, you get. So we are there for such people. That's a health visa. Yeah, you might have a relative or your parents, they need to go to India. Yes, wako na barua, but they don't know where to start. Now that's where we come in with the ticketing, with helping you get this health visa. Once you get there, where are you guys going to stay? You all don't go sleep in the hospital bed, of course. There are people who need accommodation. Yeah, you know, there's a lot when it comes to traveling, not just getting the flight and getting there. So we help with that whole package. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And all that information is at the disposal.
At their disposal for free.
For free.
Consultation is free, but of course when it comes to visa facilitations, there's a fee for the process. But it's very standard. Actually, we are one of the most affordable companies right now in Nairobi currently.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and you had mentioned quite a number of documents. I don't know, certificates that maybe one needs to have.
Yes.
What would be the importance of having all these documents?
So, you know, when it comes to visa processing, you can get an approval or a denial. The more documents you have or how good your documents look will increase your chances of getting this visa.
What exactly do they look for?
Number one, in case you are a criminal or a person with a criminal record, trust me, you'll never leave Kenya.
So you need a certificate of good conduct?
Yes, you'll need that certificate of good conduct or the police clearance, such things. If you don't present your family ties, they won't see the attachment that you have in Kenya, because most of the time they believe you won't come back once you go there. Someone like you, for instance, if you have a wife or kids, dad, mom, they believe you can't go and disappear and leave your family behind. You get. So it increases your chances of getting this visa. That's why we have to make sure we have exhausted you when it comes to all documents. I make sure umeniletea zote, you brought all your documents to me so that you can start your process.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
It will just increase your chances of getting this visa. Yes.
So the process, like, or maybe of ensuring that maybe even one do not get or finally gets the opportunity to get abroad is quite rigorous.
Actually, when you're working with a trustworthy agent or company, the process is smooth. In as much as it's long, it will become smooth. Because this process takes between 2 to 3 months. It's not something that you wake up today and tomorrow you're flying. No, it's 2 to 3 months. But when you have someone to take you through, it makes it smooth. And that's what every Kenyan is looking for.
Wow.
You get, and that's why we are here.
Wow. I love that particular part. And Brenda, maybe something else, and I know there is a way in which maybe you are also connected to this, and that is maybe what most Kenyans maybe also want to find in terms of the information, because a Kenyan is also then, they are wondering, okay, they are hearing there are these opportunities abroad, like maybe in the US, in Canada, but how do you get to find out that there is this particular job opportunity in Canada, in the US?
So what we do, we have our direct contacts there. For instance, we have a company in Brazil. So anything about Brazil, we know about. A country like Canada, we've partnered with some companies, even schools. For instance, the Camosun University. We have contact with the people inside. So we are able to know all these opportunities. In case there are scholarships in the schools, we have the direct contact. Because also you've been seeing in the media, someone has gotten their visa, but once they get to the country, they're stranded, right? Most people are even sleeping on the streets. They have the visa, but they don't have the opportunity. So you have to look for a company that will help you, even after getting the visa, even after landing. What are you landing to do? You know, we have to get rid of this.
Like for example, there is a situation whereby someone can just travel without necessarily actually knowing where they're going.
Let me tell you, there's this phrase Kenyans always use, bora nitoke Kenya. No, unatoka unaenda wapi? You know, yeah, there's that, but also you have to look ahead. Unafika, like, how are you going to pay your bills? You've gone for greener pastures, not just getting to Canada. I'm in Canada. You get, yeah. So we have to make sure you're well settled. You've gotten something to do in the country, because that's what you're going to look for.
Wow.
And I'm sure you've been seeing those incidences,
Sure,
streets, shelters.
Quite unfortunate.
Exactly.
Quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
So that is as a result of maybe someone not doing their homework very well,
or
some
the
disconnect in terms of information,
or the company that you've used.
Or the company that
so many promises.
Yes, actually, and that is very important when it comes now to ensuring the trustworthiness maybe of the company that one is using. How can Kenyans actually be sure about?
So what happens? I always advise, do your research before even getting to pay that amount, because it's not a small amount to most Kenyans. So before you pay that amount, do your research also. Someone who has researched well, ni ngumu sana umdanganye, right? Yeah, so we always advise, do your research. Also, you have to know the history of the company. When you come to the office and you want to see the evidence or proof of clients that we have taken to the country, I'll show you a few. I'll show you successful visas. You get. So with that, you'll gain some trust. Also, when it comes to payment, I always advise any Kenyan or any client, don't pay to a company you haven't seen. At least visit the offices for the first time, because in Nairobi, you'll go find it's a company, the following day, unapata ni kinyozi. It happens. You have to go visit the office, see they're registered, research about the company, go to their websites, their social media platforms, at least get to know this company well before you get to pay. To avoid all those stories. Yeah.
And for a company that is open, is transparent, would not hesitate to give this kind of information.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
That's quite interesting. Now, you'll find that, Brenda, maybe some Kenyans, even in terms of maybe ensuring that they have these documents, some of them maybe take a lot of time, procrastination. What do you think should be done in terms of is it that one should now begin to look for some of these documents when they have an idea that they want to go out, or it is important for one to ensure that they've processed some of these documents so that now when the opportunity arises, it can become much easier for them?
Yeah, it's actually very important for any Kenyan to have a passport, because you know passports take time. But these are the common documents. Any Kenyan has an ID, birth certificate. But let me tell you, anyone who's interested to travel, you give them a week to look for these documents. Trust me, even 3 days is enough, because it's a person who is desperate for, like, to go out of the country. So it's easy for them to get the documents. But anyone who can't access or hawajui waanze wapi, no, I help when it comes to that. Someone who has maybe young kids, they don't know where to start applying for their birth certificates, I'll come in and tell them, go to these offices, you can get your birth certificates here. But for any Kenyan, if you're out there and you want to start your process, or you have a dream of traveling outside, it's very nice to start having your documents together. Most people actually, watakwambia, they haven't even picked their KCSE school certificate since 2019. You get this, they've studied, they passed, but they didn't go for that certificate at school. So you'll give them a deadline, of course they'll meet it, but to avoid the rush, start looking for those documents as early as now. Yes.
And I know you must have communicated with maybe some of the people, some of the Kenyans that you've helped to get some of these opportunities. What maybe do you think have been the main challenges maybe for a Kenyan who is getting to get an opportunity abroad maybe for the very first time, and what advice maybe do you give in relation to that, so that maybe for those who will also get these opportunities, maybe they don't really suffer maybe from something like culture shock and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so the first thing, most people think for you to travel outside you must have a direct contact. ukuwe na mtu Canada.
Canada, yeah.
Sijui lazima ukuwe na mtu USA. You don't have to.
It's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
You can just land there without
knowing anyone, as long as the company you're working with is providing someone to hold your hand.
The company that you'll go to work for.
Or the company that is helping you
is helping
leave
you to go there.
Kenya should have someone to hold your hand once you land there. So you don't have to know anyone out there. Mi siwezi enda Canada sijui mtu, nataka Australia. No, if your heart is for Canada, you just come, we're going to help you. That's the first thing most people think. The other problem is there's this thing we call the bank statement. Bank statement is a document that is required when you start in your application. And most countries require a large amount of money in your statement.
Sure.
But don't worry, you can use your relative's bank statement or a friend. Let's say
what
you
is
want to
normally
travel.
why is it like that?
You know, they have to see you financially stable at the end of the day. You get, they don't want a person who is going to be dependent on the country when you land there. Yes, so you can use someone else's bank statement. Maybe you have a friend who you think at least they're working, they're receiving some money in their account, they can assist you with that. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, so they'll just act as your sponsor or your guarantor. It's allowed.
It's allowed?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the main challenges. Also, when it comes to family ties, you know, there's a phrase in Kikuyu, we say, "Mishi ni dogo." I don't know if you get that. You'll find someone saying, "I don't know my dad. I've never met him. Where will I get his ID?" And your birth certificate shows you have a dad and a mom. You know, there are those challenges when it comes to getting your family ties. But we will just come to our office. We are going to look at our case and say this is safe, this is okay. If you can't get, we will advise you to get other documents that can support that. So we always have a solution to any problem you get. Yeah, so those are the small challenges that you find with our clients here and there, but we always assist. Okay. Exactly.
Good. As we come to the close of these, Brenda, maybe you can advise a Kenyan who is watching you. Some of them maybe have just finished high school. Yeah. Some of them maybe they have finished colleges, but they've not yet secured job opportunities in Kenya, and they have not maybe even heard of the processes like maybe getting opportunities abroad. Where do they start from? Can you talk to them?
Okay, yeah. So if you're out there, you've been walking around with envelopes looking for jobs, don't worry. There are jobs abroad. Also, you don't have to be an engineer or a doctor, as our parents used to tell us. There are other jobs, other courses. People say are small courses, but out there they are very marketable, very, very, very marketable. So you don't have to go to that school for that engineer. Maybe you didn't even pass so much in high school, you didn't get that A grade or a B grade, but trust me, there are other opportunities, hospitality courses, barista courses, even drivers. Drivers in these countries are one of the most paid people, and it's just a normal driver. You get, so you don't have to do that big course that you've had people say for you to be successful. No. And if you're ready to start the process, feel free to contact us. I'll give my number. Also, you can visit our offices. Here in Nairobi, we are at Pension Towers, Leiter Street, floor M2. Yes, we are also opening a branch in Nakuru. Feel free to visit us. I'll leave my number 0702 112 802. 0702 112 802. Feel free to call me, leave a text on WhatsApp, and we're going to talk.
Brenda Gatonye, the Human Resource WorldStat Africa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
even
much
for the enlightenment, and we believe that so many of our viewers have really benefited from this conversation. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Of course, there you go. That was Brenda Gatonye from WorldStat Africa talking about digital and foreign jobs programs, and of course what you can get from them. And of course, as she's also said, other than Nairobi and Mombasa, they also have a branch in Nakuru, and that is at Reto Plaza. And Kage, you've heard her, and yes. It's quite very, very. And she's actually bringing out very interesting points and very candid points on some of the things that maybe Kenyans need to know, and especially the youth need to know when maybe they are actually targeting and looking for these foreign jobs.
Yeah, and Kenyans, especially for young people, have a huge quench for foreign jobs. What is lacking is what I would call a very reliable agent or institution to be able to connect them with outside world. Because most of the companies, organizations, or agents which help them to go out, they're out to make their money and leave them to go and maybe struggle by themselves. But if you could look at the trends in the recent days, you could tell there are many opportunities out there. And I wish, as the president is doing, trying to move around to connect Kenya with outside world, especially for looking for opportunities for young people. If this could happen in the right way, I think it would be very beneficial. Yesterday I was reading an article somewhere, I don't know whether it is good or not. They were saying that every household must have someone outside Kenya in abroad working. You know, they were looking at the data of the money.
When you're talking about household, you're talking about a nuclear family.
Yes.
Composed of the father, the mother, and the children.
Yes.
One must be there.
One must be there.
That is how it should be, or that is what is happening?
It should be.
Oh, that is how it should be.
Yeah, because we are looking at the amount of money, foreign exchange or foreign money, the amount of remittances that we are receiving from our guys from outside.
Yeah. We've had stories, actually, like you're saying. I've also interacted with the people. Maybe someone just went there for the last 1 year.
Yes.
And the kind of investment that you are hearing that person is actually putting up back at home is quite monumental.
It's a fact.
Yes.
Someone leaves, goes abroad. After 1 year, he builds a good house for the parents.
Sure.
He buys a vehicle for the dad.
An apartment for business.
An apartment for business. They invest in Kenya.
Exactly.
You see?
And you know,
they are
out
creating
of that,
job opportunities.
Job opportunities.
You see?
So even the people that are being affected indirectly are quite a number.
Yes.
Yeah.
They educate their family members. They bring others where they are. So it has a huge impact. I wish we could get a serious organizations who are ready to support this program.
Exactly.
And even they can also collaborate with the government. As the government is doing on the other end, we have other private entities which are doing on this end. Because the amount of young people who are unemployed in the country is surging every year.
Every year, yeah.
And we don't have a capacity to be able to employ all of them.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we are being told that in those foreign countries, they are actually in need of more and more people to actually serve. And the good thing is that, like Madam Gatonye from West Africa is saying, they are even really encouraging those who have skills. Yeah? Those who have actually gone to school, they've gone to colleges, maybe they have done engineering courses, they've done barista courses. And so many other skills. These are the people that are actually being targeted in these foreign countries. So maybe I think the only thing that needs to be done, Kag, is now the government to put very, very good infrastructure to help maybe those programs. I know most of the youth and maybe most of the parents will talk about maybe the cost of having maybe someone actually
and some of these guys are the ones which are messing around because like the LRED program, which backfired. Those are the guys who are making people to fear. Exactly. Because if you are a parent, you want to send your child outside, you're spending $500,000, you're spending 200,000, 1M. To be able to support your child to go
for you to lose that amount of money,
it's very discouraging even for others who have not done it. And there's something that Gatonye said about doing a thorough research.
Exactly, yeah. About a company that you want to use.
Yes.
Sure.
You're given time to study the documents of the company. You can go even look at the register of companies, whether it is legitimate.
Legitimate, sure. It's valid. It's being recognized.
That is where now we should check. I think government should crack a whip on any illegal or non-compliance agent which are taking our people outside Kenya. Because if you are not whipped, you are going to mess around even in the coming years.
Sure.
But if you could have a solid program, a solid establishment, then I think many young people are going to have confidence even to go. They are waiting to go.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think maybe one more before we have another interview, Kagi. The importance of our youth being ready.
Yes.
She has talked about some of the documents that are very basic and very important for you to have. I think even as much as you want to get some of these opportunities, you're looking forward to getting some of these chances. It's very, very important for you to have those important documents. Don't just sit and then you wait for the last minute. Then when an opportunity arises, that is the time you're beginning to look for the birth certificate and the passport.
She has talked about the requirements of the family ties, which is very, very key, that you bring along your parents' details, your siblings. But there's one area I felt is a little bit sensitive, getting a statement.
The bank statement.
But she has given an alternative.
Sure. But then she said you can use the bank statement of a relative.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that
Like
can
a
really
guarantor.
help. Yeah, because maybe most of these graduates will wonder, they've not worked. They don't have a very, very fat bank statement. Okay. So, Director, I think we can have the second interview. Now, the second guest is called Zoe Naik. Now, she'll be talking now, what are some of these particular skills that maybe one needs to have, even as we look at some of these digital and foreign jobs opportunities that we have. And I think that is also very, very interesting, so that you can also be in a position to know what is it that will make you to have that potential capacity of actually being recruited for some of these opportunities. We can have that particular segment. Of course, welcome again, and just as we had promised you with my colleague Paul Kagi, initially we had looked at jobs or opportunities abroad for you as a viewer, maybe who's still looking for some of these opportunities in the country, some of these job opportunities in the country. It's important for you to look at other horizons, and just as our earlier guest had told us, there are thousands and thousands of opportunities abroad. So we want to escalate this further and see, therefore, what are some of these skills, what are some of these preparations or some of the trainings that maybe you need to have even for you to enhance your chances of actually getting these opportunities abroad. And of course, there is an area that we're going to look and focus on today, and that is what we call barista or training, or being trained as a barista. And I also have a guest again that will also help us to get into the nitty-gritties and also maybe shed light on what we mean when you talk about a barista. And this is none other than Zoe Naik, who is the overall manager for all branches of WorldStart Barista Institute. Karibu sana, good to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You're most welcome. I know I've introduced you, and maybe even so many people are wondering, and maybe our viewer has just heard this term barista maybe for the very first time.
Right.
So Zoe, as we just give us an introduction, what do we mean when we talk about a barista training?
So barista is a very big word. Barista is what we train about anything to do with coffee. Coffee is barista. Barista is coffee. So that goes hand in hand.
Right.
What we train is barista, anything to do with coffee, how to make coffee, how to do the art of coffee, how to do roasting of the coffee, how coffee is brought from the ground, and how the process is from A, B, and C. That has everything to do with barista. Yeah.
And there are quite a number of people who are supposing this to be a new phenomenon, something that has been there for some time.
It has been there for some time, but people have not been aware of what barista is. But now in the society here in Kenya, barista seems to be really upcoming because of the farmers and everything. Barista is really now upcoming here in Kenya. So now wherever you go, you hear about barista.
Maybe what do you think has triggered it now maybe to get a lot of attention, especially in some of our major cities in the country?
So whenever we travel out, and whenever we go to coffee places or to hotels and everything, you see people making coffee and everything. So when they brought it here in Kenya, it just started to everyone wanted to know how coffee is made. Everyone wanted to know what is coffee, because coffee is not you just get it at Java or like Art Cafe or anything. It's like there are very many processes of how to. So I think that's how people now got that interest of getting to know what coffee is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And then that's where now we come into barista training.
Right.
Like you've said, and maybe for so many people, they wouldn't, or maybe so many people would not have thought that there is any need of being trained as a barista, that maybe making coffee is just maybe the normal way we know of making coffee.
Right.
What does it get into, like being trained as a barista?
Okay. So what we train you is how we have very many different types of variety of coffee. We have the espresso, we have the vanilla latte, we have so many variety. What we know here is coffee is like a normal coffee with milk and coffee and sugar and things. There's so much into coffee, how to do the art design. I think you know how to do the art design, how to know which is good coffee, which is bad coffee, which is the decaf coffee. So there's so much that you learn about coffee. That's why we teach people about barista, because outside there are very many people who want barista. Opportunities outside there for baristas are phenomenal.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
Yeah, really.
Wow, wow. And for a Kenyan who is viewing us, they are hearing this maybe for the first time, and they are wondering, so what would be the qualifications? Who would maybe qualify to be trained in this particular course?
So the good thing with What Start Barista Institute, we don't have an age limit. You can be 15 or you can be 65 and you can come to an institute and learn barista. There is no age limit. Qualification, we don't need any qualification from you. We just need you to come with the interest. You need to know barista is art. You don't really need much qualification.
So no need like maybe basic maybe education, like maybe you've gone to high school.
No. What Start Barista, we you can outshine even the ones that have done bachelor or what. So we do give everyone an opportunity to learn barista. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and initially we talked about this being like a new venture for employment. In your training, because you've handled maybe some of these students, Zoe, and maybe also seeing them being absorbed. How is it like after this particular training, and where they get some of these jobs?
Okay. So most of the students who finished, we do a graduation for them. We have international certificates that they're given. Once they're done that, we give them internships outside here, and it's really lovely. Like, we've done a lot of partnership with people here in Kenya. So many here in Kenya, internship, before we make students go outside there. Yeah, so we have partnership with very many hotels, restaurants, and here in Kenya.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. And for those who have already maybe been absorbed, even as you interact with them, and some of them maybe being a new experience to them, what are some of the feedback they're giving?
Many people who have come for training as a barista came in with not so much confidence, and now like when you speak to them right now, they have so much confidence, their art, their skills, it's such a lovely experience to hear from them before and now. It's lovely, and how many opportunities they are getting after getting this certificate of barista they have done, it's mind-blowing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And maybe also something else for them, maybe to once they do their course, once they finish their course, what is the process like, maybe to gauge what is it that they've learned, to examine them?
Right. So our course is normally for 1 month. We train you everything to do with barista, how to make coffee and everything. Once you're done, you get a certificate. And within a week or two, your placement begins. We already start placing you for internships
after 2 weeks.
Here. After 2 weeks,
wow.
1 week to 2 weeks, depending on you, how well you do. and how much interest you show. In 1 week and 2 weeks already we have placements for you here in Kenya.
Oh, I like that part of what interest you show. How does one, okay, of course we know in this particular country and most courses that maybe people take, someone will tell you that maybe I wanted this even from the time maybe I was young, even maybe when I was in primary school, still developed the interest or maintained the interest maybe when I was in high school. But maybe this is a Kenyan who is now listening or hearing this, and they are wondering, do I just go and do this particular course, or do I work out how I can develop some interest for it?
Right. Not everyone has interest, but what I can advise is, even if you come for this barista course, I know you will gain that interest, because we have professional international teachers who make you gain that interest. And within a week or two of your course, all our students want to learn more about barista. That's how much interesting we make our courses.
Yeah, so Zoe, maybe what would be your advice to some of our entrepreneurs, maybe in the hotel industry, especially maybe those who have just been doing things maybe the same way, they've not actually even maybe embraced the training for baristas, or maybe absorbing those who have actually been trained as baristas? How do you advise them, and how do you think if they were to embrace people or those who have actually qualified from this particular training, and how maybe it would actually even boost their business?
Right. So once again, our students are international trained, and what we would advise restaurants and even entrepreneurs is that maybe give our students an opportunity, because it will create value to their company and to their business, because we train from standard, and we train from how to be professional. So they have every knowledge about coffee and everything, so it will really give them value and even their business value. So,
wow, yes. And we also come to the close of this particular discussion, talking about coffee production in relation to this particular training, and we know that it's an important venture.
Yes.
What message do you have maybe for farmers and maybe even the government in terms of coffee production in the country?
I would like to say that whatever coffee that we use here at WordStart, it is from Kenya. So we do support the Kenyan farmers. We do encourage Kenya to boost in the coffee production and everything. We'd really request if maybe the government could even encourage more Kenyans to come and learn more about barista and coffee. It will help them and us to grow together as a society.
Wow. Amazing. That is Zoe Naik, the overall manager, WordStart Barista Institute. We appreciate your time so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Asante sana. And that's why we bring it to a close. Of course, we've been talking about widening employment or employability opportunities. Of course, earlier on, looking also at jobs abroad. We'll have my colleague Paul Kagi at the other end. Thank you for staying tuned. Yeah, that is Zoe Naik Kagi from WordStart Africa, WordStart Barista. Of course, we were looking at digital jobs and also foreign jobs. Yeah. And now the importance of most of our youth, Kenyans who are actually potential for these particular jobs, the kind of skills, the kind of knowledge, the kind of expertise that maybe they need to have, or they need actually to look for, so that they can actually access these jobs. Maybe as we finish, because my director is telling me just
one of them is if you want to get these jobs from outside, they need to bring those skills here, like the barista and others. We can be trained from here. When you're applying for those jobs, you can say, I can do this, that, and that, which is internationally recognized. Yeah. Next time we go to barista?
Sure. That would be very, very awesome. So I think, and it's quite enlightening, and we believe that, and we really hope that our youth can actually look out for these so that we can just as much as possible try to broaden our minds instead of really crying so much. And I think there are so many Kenyans that are willing to help our youth in terms of actually knowing these opportunities.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, we'll have to bring it to a stop for today. And we really want to appreciate you. So many of our viewers have also actually been following up on this particular program, and also others also interacting with the same. At least you now have an idea or two what to do when it comes to digital jobs and also foreign jobs. We want to appreciate the entire team that has made this particular production a success. And of course, we'll meet again next week at a time like today's. Until then, my name is Mangi Chomola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Yes, Paul Kag is my name. Once again, I wish you a very promising day ahead.